Welcome to the Rewind for the week of February the 26th. Help! Well, all right, church, we escaped that chaos, but Habakkuk wasn't able to escape his. That's what we talked about on Sunday, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. All right, we've got a number of things happening this week. Just want to draw your attention to a couple of those things as we move forward towards Sunday. And of course, on into March, we've got happening this Sunday 5 new adult Bible classes that are kicking off. We've had those in the bulletin the last couple of weeks. Hopefully you've planned on being a part of 9:30. I want to encourage you to be a part of 9:30. It's a great place of fellowship and community and study, and it really primes us for our time together around the table at 10:30. We've got 5 different ways for you to connect. In the Connection Cafe, Jeff and Brenda Holland are teaching a class entitled Power, Purpose, and Poverty. We've got Lane Yeldell and Vernon Witherspoon teaching the new welcome class. If you are brand new to Creekside or if you've been here for just a few months, this is a great place for you to connect, kind of see where we've been, and of course, look at where we're going. So that welcome class is there. Terry Drake and Sam Harrell are teaching a class in the library entitled God in Film. I'll be teaching in the auditorium a class called Raw Christianity, and it didn't make it on the list, but Greer Yeldell will be teaching in the office atrium area where those couches are, a class entitled Excellence in Living. And so we've got 5 different ways for you to connect on Sunday mornings at 9:30. Want you to pick your spot and how best to connect and join us and just be a part of what happens here during that time. All right, we've got a new message series that is kicking off in March. It's a little mini-series that we've entitled The 411 on 50/50. And there's an image, there's a logo that you're going to become very familiar with over the next few weeks and months and really over the next few years, as this will be the image and the wording that drives us forward in this adventure that we are on called 50/50 in 2020. We're calling it Reach Out 2020 because that is really the gear of who and what we are and who and what we are becoming. We are becoming and will be a church that reaches out, that is involved in outreach inside of the kingdom, locally, regionally, nationally, and internationally, to share the good news and the power and the experience of the gospel that is only found one place, and that's Jesus Christ. And so what we're going to be doing in March is we're going to talk about theologically the factors that drive us forward, that need to be driving us forward in this adventure. And we're going to start this week talking about a 50/50 faith. Now, we're also going to be talking about a 50/50 give, a 50/50 love, and a 50/50 walk, because again, if we've learned anything from Joshua as we kicked off 2012, we learned that we can't just talk about it, that we've got to be a people of action, and we've got to walk the talk. And so we'll end up this little mini-series talking about the 50/50 walk. But that all begins this Sunday as we talk about the faith that drives us forward as we become a church that reaches out. All right, here's one of the things about the Rewinds that I love the most, and many of you have commented on this. We're going to continue to do it, but in this format, we're able to expand out and go deeper, more involved in the topics and ideas that we talked about on Sunday. We're going to continue to do that, of course, but in this Rewind, in this case, we're actually giving a little preview, an advanced screening, if you will, of something that we're going to be sharing with the church as a whole on Sunday. As we closed out 2011, as we moved into 2012, we mentioned that there were a number of things that we were working on. Reach Out 2020 was a big part of that. A new website that will soon be online. Bear with us just a little bit longer. We'll have a new website online in just about next month. We will have that done. It's going to be absolutely amazing. Coupled with that, though, was a refreshed look and imagery and logo for our church here at Creekside. I want to give you a preview of that. We're going to share this, of course, on Sunday morning on the screens, but I want to give you guys a preview of that and what that looks like. So here is our new church logo. I hope you are as excited about that as we are. We think that that speaks to the nature and the style of who we are as a church. It is reflective of our heritage, and it's also reflecting the fact that this is a community that Christ is building and will continue to build in the future. So there you go. There's a preview. There's an advanced screening. You're going to start seeing that imagery on everything that is Creekside. But enough about that. Let's rewind the message from Sunday and talk for a few moments about Habakkuk. Though the fig tree does not bud, and there are no grapes on the vines, and though the olive crop fails, and the fields produce no food, and though there are no sheep in the pen, and no cattle in the stalls, Yet will I praise thee. I will be joyful in the God of my salvation. Those are the words that Habakkuk uses to close out his story. It's the story of a man who looks out, much like the beginning of this video, and sees nothing but absolute chaos and violence, and he is wondering, where is God in the midst of this? And then he begins to wonder, does God even care? And he has a number of questions that he begins asking. And when God begins answering those questions, they're the kind of answers that Habakkuk could have done without. And it's really a story, even though it's a short story in your Old Testament, it's a story about a journey of faith. What do you do when you can't escape something? How do you embrace something that you can't change? In fact, we even highlighted that on Sunday morning, that Habakkuk's name means to embrace. Well, how do you embrace something that you cannot change? I think that's a question that a lot of us struggle with a lot of time, which makes Habakkuk's story very relevant to our lives, because the answer to his questions was not a how or a why or a when. The answer to the questions that Habakkuk was asking was a who. That even though I see the chaos and the violence and it's all wrong, God is there. God is the who. God is the answer. God is there in the middle of that. And he assures Habakkuk that even though you may find yourself in the middle of chaos and violence, and you have to go through that, because Habakkuk, you can't escape that. That's what God is saying to him. And sometimes I think God says that to you and I. You're not going to escape this, but rest assured, I'm there with you in the middle of it. And rest assured that on the end of that will be nothing but victory and justice and goodness and righteousness that comes from the hand of God. That's the way this story is going to end for Habakkuk. That's the way the story ends for you and I. But sometimes it doesn't make it easy going in the middle of it. And Habakkuk finally gets to that point and he says, even though I see this, and even though this is wrong, and even though there's emptiness that is all over here, and even though I'm experiencing hurting and pain here, I will praise you. And I will be joyful in the God of my salvation. Now, how is it that he is able to make that confession? It's the next verse. It's the last verse in Habakkuk. The sovereign Lord is my strength, and he makes me walk on high places. Habakkuk discovers, and so do you and I in the middle of this story, he discovers that the low places in life are actually the high places. That God is there with us, and wherever God is, he's raising us up so that we can walk on those high places. And so rather than rewind the message, we have to fast forward this one forward, because we're going to encounter those moments and those struggles. Maybe you're already there. That's why we have to dial into this story. And we have to realize that the only strength that we have, the strength is not, the army that was invading, the Babylonian army, they saw their weapons and their size as their strength, and God laughs at that. And we recognize, much like Habakkuk, that our strength is not in things that we possess or things that we can do, but our strength is only in God himself. And when we find ourselves in a low place, we need to recognize that because of God's presence, his power, and his purpose in the midst of that, it's actually a high place. And so I encourage you this week, as you begin to walk forward, as you begin to walk towards Sunday and gathering around the table that Jesus calls us to, recognize that with every step you are walking in a high place. That maybe it's not ideal. Maybe there's a situation that needs to be redeemed in some form or fashion. Maybe it can, maybe it can't. But wherever you walk and wherever you go, you're recognizing that the strength of your walk is a strength that comes from God. That even though it's not, yet will we praise you, because you are the God of our salvation. I want you to be encouraged. I want you to walk with strength. I want you to know the power and the promise and the protection that is there from God. He enables us to walk on high places. So church, be strong, be blessed, and
have a great